Hey guys, so I'm sure all of you have seen movies where they have people with PTSD that maybe there's a ceiling fan and it triggers some kind of memory and they end up strangling someone or something. At least I've seen that in Grey's Anatomy. Well, today I want to talk about PTSD and the many misconceptions that come with it and just in general what it is. So some of you may be wondering, why are you credible to even talk about PTSD? I mean, who are you? Well, I'm not a psych major. I actually have PTSD. I was diagnosed about a month ago, but I'd been seeing doctors for about a year before they actually figured out what it was. So, what is PTSD? PTSD is post-traumatic stress disorder, which, what does that mean? That means someone experienced something or more than one thing that's traumatic, and now they have flashbacks or they can have many other symptoms that we'll get to later that can trigger the many different scary things that come along with PTSD. So, why you should know about it? I mean, I think it's important that people just know about PTSD in general, just so they can have a general overview of what it is and so that they can just be aware that people have this and, clear up some misconceptions that people may have. Actually, more people have it than you may suspect. About 8 million people in the US have it. And 7 or 8 people out of every 100 are said to develop it at some point in their life. It can take years to diagnose. Like for me, it took about a year to diagnose because the symptoms may not develop until years after the traumatic event even happened. So that's why a lot of people don't necessarily connect the event to the symptoms. They think it's something else. Normally, to diagnose this disorder, you have to go through a ringer of tests and everything to make sure it's nothing else. Like me personally, I had to be put on a heart monitor for a month, and I had to see cardiologists to make sure it was nothing with my heart. I had to do blood tests. They took like 20 tubes of blood in total to make sure that it was nothing with any other disease or anything else that it could possibly be. There's different symptoms that come with PTSD. Everyone's symptoms are different, but typically with PTSD, you can develop depression, you develop major anxiety, and the anxiety part of it could be panic disorder, which is when you have panic attacks and things for seemingly no reason, but eventually you find out that there may be a reason behind it, or it could still be just random panic attacks. Or you can develop generalized anxiety disorder where you become scared of basically anything. You can be afraid to even leave your house. And that's when it usually becomes serious because it affects everyday life. So typically that's when people seek treatment for it. But one thing you should know about people with PTSD, they're usually not dangerous to others. I find that the way that movies depict them, it's very much different from how it actually is. I mean, I've never met anyone or seen anyone who just starts strangling people because of a ceiling fan. But I think that people getting the treatment that they need definitely helps them. There's different treatments that you can get, like medications. Basically, I'm going to talk about my personal medications that I'm on just so that I can help explain it to you. So, whenever you're sleeping, you go through this period of, if you know the stages of sleep, there's this period of sleep called REM sleep, which is rapid eye movement sleep, which is where you dream, you process memories, and all of that jazz. But whenever you have PTSD and you're sleeping, whenever you start to dream, typically those dreams turn to nightmares or flashbacks, so your body automatically wakes you up. So you don't go through that period of REM sleep where you process those memories. And so for your brain to heal or do any healing, you have to process things in order to move forward. So I'm on a sleep medication that it makes me go into REM sleep so that my brain can process those memories and move on. And that's typically the number one treatment for it. But also, in addition to that, they send you to a therapist usually. And what that therapist will do is a thing called cognitive behavioral therapy, which is where the therapist helps you to go through the process. They talk about it with you, and they typically try to change the way that you think about the situation. So a lot of times, victims of anything, they usually will blame themselves for what happened, but the therapist will help them remember and to realize that it's not necessarily their fault. And so that's what cognitive behavioral therapy is. There's also service dogs that a lot of people with PTSD get. I wish I could have a service dog, but they're kind of expensive. But what the service dog will do is they'll sense whenever you're about to have a panic attack, and they will help you to not have one. But there's other coping mechanisms that people do, like I color. I like to color. It helps me calm down. There's just so many different things that you can do. Just go for a walk, anything. Or I find exercise really helps me too. Like, I don't know if y'all remember, I like to box. That helps me catch my body up with my brain, and it gets all of my anger out. But in conclusion, people with PTSD are not necessarily dangerous, and soldiers actually aren't the only ones that get PTSD. It can be anyone. So just try to be nice to people, because you never know what people are going through. And just, be nice. Thank you.